Good morning. You're doing the even set today. I'll be here to answer some questions, and I'm going to give you the answers to the odds so you can check your work, see if you're doing it. Number 1 plus or minus 3. 5 has 2 goes in there. Go ahead and look through your work from yesterday and see if you got similar answers. If there's something you're screwing up and you don't know why, ask. If you didn't understand something, ask. Today's work is just the even set. Give you some more practice graphing some things, more practice picking out solutions, and working with square roots. So if you don't know how you got something, or you not getting the same thing I'm getting, ask and we can clear it up. Yeah, you have to take it back though. If you click the turn in button, then you gotta take it back and return it in. But you should be able to edit them. Just looking through what you guys have turned in, make sure you're doing plus and minus if it has a square root. So like for number 1, if you wrote 3, that is incorrect. If you wrote -3, that is incorrect. You need both positive and -3. You could also write it as 3, -3 or -3, 3. Doesn't matter. Keep in mind, you're really not looking for points here. You're looking for the solution. I'm not going to be too concerned if you wrote your answers as like -3, 0 and 3, 0. I mean, that's telling me you know the same thing. So I'm not too concerned if you did it that way. 21? Yeah, sure. 21. 21 says radius of a circle with an area of radius of a circle with area of 80 centimeters squared. Yeah. So first off, it's asking for radius in terms of area, so you need to know your formula. If you didn't, you could have looked it up, but you need to know the formula for area of a circle, which is area equals pi. That's a bad pi. Pi r squared. So once you looked that up and you figured that part out, it's really easy. It gives you the area. So your formula or your equation part is just plugging in 80 for A. And I guess I'll write it the other way because I have it written that way up there. But it's going to be pi times r squared equals 80. Then it wants you to solve for it. I did get the right answer for that. It might round this because it might use pi as 3.14, but whatever. So you're going to divide each by pi to get r by itself. I divide each by pi, and I'm going to use a calculator. I'm not sure if it's using actual pi or if it's using 3.14 or what it's doing on there to get the 5, but I'm pretty sure that's rounded. 80 divided by 3.14 gives you, yeah, that's rounded, is going to give you r squared equals 25.47770701, and it's irrational. It goes on like that. So the book is just rounding that to 25. I'm sorry, we're dividing by 3.14, which is pi. So pi will cancel out here. You'll get 25. If r squared equals 25, then you take the square root of both, and r equals 5. I guess the hardest part would be realizing you need to use this formula, and if you didn't have that, there's that. I don't know, 80 divided by actual pi. I know where my pi button is. Yeah, it's still gonna round it whether you use the pi button or 3.14. So it's just rounding it. So if you had something else like 5.4, whatever it was, or was it 25.4-ish? Yeah, if you had something like 5.046265.044, that's a more accurate answer, but it's just not reasonable because you're not measuring that length to that amount. So sig fig's played in. Any questions about graphing things? It's hard for me to tell if you're getting graphing because I'm not seeing your graphs. And with that, if there's any questions about today's work, which is the even set of these as well. Looking through this, most of you are getting most of these. Yeah, this one wants you to graph it. Let me pull up a coordinate plane here to graph it with you. And I'll get number 4 going for you, Adam. That's fine. So there's a coordinate plane. Double check my face isn't in the way. All right. And you're looking at number 4, Adam. Number 4 states 2x squared minus 8 equals 0. Okay, right away, it's equal to 0, so that's a good sign. If it wasn't, we'd have to do some work, which we'll do tomorrow. But you should know your A value equals 2, your B value doesn't exist, which tells you that your line of symmetry right away is going to be right on that y-axis, and your C value is -8. So we know our axis of symmetry is at x equals 0. So we already know that because there's no B value. I mean, you could plug into everything and be like -b over 2a equals 0 over 2 times 2, which equals 0 over 4, which equals 0. But because you don't have a B value, your axis is going to be on that line. With that, you should be able to tell your vertex would also be on that line. So where x equals 0, what does y equal? And you can plug in to solve that out, but it's also, in this case, it's going to be your y-intercept because it's going to be on that line. So when you plug in 0 for it, you have 0 squared is 0 times 2 is 0, minus 8 gives you -8. So we have -8 there. And that is your y-intercept. So we're going to plot that point. 0, -8. Yeah. I made the, you might need a bigger, oh, I'm sorry, -8. I should put it that way. 0, -8 is down here. And that's going to give me room. Because again, A is positive, so we know it's opening upward, and we have a min. So this here will be our minimum point. And then you got to find a couple more points. So let's pick points like x and y being 1 and 2 maybe. If it's not going to give you great numbers for the x-axis, you'll have to keep going. But we'll try it right now. It's probably not because actually A is 2 here. It might be steep enough. When we put in 1, you get 1 squared is, let's see, 2 times 1 squared minus 8. You put in 1, you get 1 squared times 2 is 4. 4 minus 8 gives you -4. So 1 is at -4 here. And then you have the line of symmetry over it. And 2 should be 2 squared minus 8. 2 squared is 4 times 2 is 0. So that's going to put you right on there. 2 and 0. And then you got the opposite. So right away you know this here's your answer and this here's your answer. So it's plus or minus 2. But we can finish drawing our, well, best you can draw your curve. I'll tell you what, stylus is better than the mouse, but I'm not very good at drawing curves on this either. So your answers for number 4 are going to be your plus or minus 2 for number 4. But again, it gives you some practice on graphing things, gets you a little used to it. You should be recognizing that when you don't have your B value, your axis is always going to be your y-axis. Your vertex will always be your y-intercept when you don't have a B value. So your B value just moves things left and right on the graph. So your A value, you haven't put it together. A value gives you steepness, how steep that curve is. Your B value gives you left and right. And your C value gives you up and down. So you're just moving that around. Yeah, I can do 18 next. Do I have to graph 18? I do not have to graph 18. I just have to solve for it. I will tell you right now, if it is not a perfect square, leave it under the radical the best you can, if you know how to leave things under a radical. But I guess you could also just round it. But try to leave things under the radical if you can. It's more accurate of an answer. But you get 18 here. We have, what was that, 27 minus y squared equals 0. All right, so we already got, yeah, we just want to solve for y. So just do our algebra. The only problem with this one is that you're going to get an ugly square root, so just leave it under the radical when you're done. You're going to get negative 27 on this side and negative 27 on that side. So we get negative y squared equals negative 27. We'll have negative y squared. Remember, there's a 1 in front of this, so I'm technically going to divide each by negative 1 now. But you could probably do that in your head. If negative y squared equals negative 7, then y squared equals positive 27. And then you just take the square root, and y equals square root of 27. And you can leave it as the square root of 27. If you want to make it a little better, you can put the plus and minus square root of 27. I don't think the computer lets you make the plus minus sign like that. Or you can just leave it as a square root of 27 because technically this does have a positive and negative answer to it. So any one of those is acceptable for it. That's it. You should be able to kind of guess where this is going to be. You should be able to realize that 27 is between, or the square root of 27 is between 5 and 6 because it's between 25 and 36. So you should be able to estimate it a bit, but you can leave it under the radical if you need to. If you didn't, your answer should be 5.196152423, and that goes on. If you plus or minus, if you didn't leave it under the radical. This here is a more accurate answer though, so I'd leave it under the radical. And that radical can't be simplified. So. Any other questions about yesterday's or today's going on? Can you use the quadratic formula? Not yet. Please don't use it yet. You got to do it the hard way before you can get the tools to do it the more systematic way. In fact, you're not going to use it tomorrow either. We're going to do this by factoring tomorrow. If you would like to use the quadratic formula to check your work, go right ahead, if you know what it is. But there is a formula for this all. I'm not sure if you've been introduced to that formula yet or not. If you want to check your work, you can plug into that and it'll solve it for you. But this here is your quadratic formula. You will note that it has your line of symmetry formula in there, which is a negative b over 2a. and it has your square root going on. Remember, there are two answers to this, so you got to do it twice. But you could just plug into that. Oh, yeah, it does the same thing. I mean, I can walk you through one, like if we do number 1 with it. X squared minus 9 equals 0. So you have, let's see, x squared minus 9. So you know A equals 1, you know B equals 0, and you know C equals -9. And you just plug into this. So x equals 0 plus or minus the square root of 0 squared minus 4 times 1 times -9, all divided by 2 times 1. Clear things up. Plus or minus 0 is not going to do anything. 0 squared is 0. So you're going to get the square root of -4 times 1 times -9 over 2 times 1 is 2. You can combine this part. -4 times 1 is, sorry, that's a -9. That's what, 36? -4 times, yes, this is plus or minus 36 divided by 2. And you know the square root of 36 is where it's going to break off. You're going to get 6 and -6, each divided by 2. And you'll note that each of these equals 3 and -3, which is what your answer is for 1. So you can use the formula for it. It does solve these, but you don't have notes on that yet. It is just formula work, though. I mean, you just plug it in if you know what things are. Or if you have a graphing calculator, you can just program your calculator to do that formula, which will be awesome, especially in high school, because it's a pretty complicated formula to work with. It's probably one of the hardest formulas that you're going to see in like common life. Are there any other questions? If not, finish page 531. Tomorrow we will do these by factoring, which I like because I think factoring is kind of fun, but the quadratic formula is going to make life easy for you once you figure out how to do it by factoring, because that's going to be a lot easier than factoring. But you got to know both ways, so I'll try it out. But yep. If you have more questions, shoot me an email. Other than that, I'm going to end it. I just want you to practice doing things today. Practice graphing. Actually graph them out, please. Well, Elena was able to get the plus or minus symbol. Good job, Elena. Alright, you guys seem pretty quiet right now, so I am going to end it. Again, if you have further questions, email me. I will help you out through that the best I can. But we'll look at some tomorrow and go from there. So long. Have a good day.